International energy relations evolved considerably in the first 2 decades of the 21st century, transforming from a traditional oil-based energy framework into a broad set of energy, able to power countries around the globe. The wave of anti-nuclear protests, which swept throughout Europe and the United States, settled in the early 2000s. Oil wars persisted in the first decade of the 21st century. Russia, the largest exporter of natural gas, finally rose from the ashes of the Cold War and worked on solidifying its foothold in global energy markets. The country's pipeline infrastructure is spread over thousands of kilometers and is the most complex and reliable network of energy supplies to Europe. Since the opening of the Power of Siberia gas pipeline, it supplies China as well. Russian gas infrastructure is not immune to geopolitical hiccups. After annexing Crimea and meddling in eastern Ukraine, Russia's energy supply to Europe took a hard hit. Capitalizing on the opportunity, the United States under the Obama administration launched the most audacious strategy to reclaim the European gas market with US LNG. The US is now the world's leading producer of LNG, and it is vying for markets around the globe to export its supply. Barack Obama pursued a multi-pronged strategy to advance US energy interests across Europe, working closely with his Baltic allies to introduce the first Baltic LNG terminal in Lithuania. The nation also installed an LNG infrastructure in Croatia across the Adriatic Sea. These fast-appearing LNG footprints on the European shore have severe consequences for Russian energy interests. The well-crafted strategy pursued by successive US administrations to advance LNG in the global market is finally paying off. US LNG exports are finally spiking, estimated to grow 30% this year and an additional 18% in 2021. However, the Russian energy fortress is still far from vulnerable to US LNG expansion. In its new energy security doctrine, Russia calls for more aggressive measures to compete with potential competitors and prevent them from dominating the European gas market. The US and Europe criticized Russia's bypass of Ukraine as a transit country for the European gas market. But Russia is planning to divert its gas to Europe via a new pipeline called Nord Stream, which will go live in late 2021. The new pipeline has been in the works for the last 3 decades, and many Western experts and politicians anticipate a permanent surrender to Russian energy influence. Due to increased calls to snub Russia's natural gas and thus limit its energy influence over Europe, Russia is exploring alternative markets to maintain its energy supremacy in all domains, including oil, gas, and LNG. Luckily, the nation is blessed with Arctic energy reserves from the Yamal Peninsula. The Yamal LNG plant exported a record-breaking volume of LNG in the first half of 2020. According to one report, Russia saw a 48% rise in LNG exports from January to August in 2020. Their LNG is transported through specially built icebreakers and make year-round trips through northern waters, providing a viable energy alternative to Asia and Europe. Russia's focus on LNG exports is dilapidating US LNG exports in many Asian markets. The LNG market is not regulated like oil and pipeline-based natural gas, which gives the buyer greater flexibility to choose the most viable seller to meet its energy demands. Russia's influence over the LNG market is also due to its bonhomie with China, which is a leading stakeholder and investor in the Yamal LNG plant. China now has a 9.9% equity stake in the Yamal LNG with a $40 billion Silk Route fund. This SRF is a medium to a long-term investment fund. China's high energy needs are the most positive sign for Russia's natural gas and LNG sector. As of 2017, China overtook South Korea as the second largest LNG importer. Devoid of any home-based energy sources, China is always searching for long-term solutions to satisfy its energy demands. China LNG aspirations started in early 2000, the China National Oil Corporation becoming the first Chinese oil company to enter the LNG business and receive long-term shipments of LNG from Australia and Indonesia. The signing of the Power of Siberia gas pipeline in 2014 ushered a new era in Chinese-Russian energy diplomacy. The pipeline took 5 years to build, and it now pumps natural gas to China from Russia. Russia's other crucial project, which kicked off in 2020, is the Turk Stream gas pipeline, which carries Russian gas through the Black Sea and into Turkey. This strategic placement of Russian energy pipelines around Europe shows that Russia is now well placed to negotiate its terms in the energy market. Western media is notorious for criticizing the Russian energy industry, but in reality, its gas giant Gazprom and its sister organizations, which deal with LNG and oil sectors, devised intelligent policies in the second decade of the 21st century to advance their energy infrastructure. The US-Russia standoff in the energy markets, especially the LNG and natural gas sectors, is a good omen for the buyers, as they now have greater availability to buy from multiple sources. Traditional geopolitical undercurrents are still visible in the energy market, but Europeans still have one viable option: Russia pipeline-based gas.